Marlo from Wild Food UK. It's the 9th of August and funnily enough, I'm out foraging again. And here I am, lucky I'm quite short, I'm nestled underneath my favourite tree, the beech tree, which is my favourite tree for a few reasons, but mainly because of all the lovely, delicious fungus that you find with it. And often on it after it's fallen. So that's what I'm going to show you today. Some really interesting saprotroph mushrooms which are rotting down what I believe to be an old dead bit of beech. Now, I came here hoping to find some oyster mushrooms because this is a tree that I know fruits oyster mushrooms in summer, but instead I got a lovely surprise, which, though not a mushroom I'm going to eat, is actually one that I'm even more pleased to find because I can do a video for you guys on it. And it's down here. Let's have a look. Look at these beautiful, deep, velvety lilac mushrooms. Let's see if you can get a good shot under the cap. I will pick one so that you can see the lovely colour of the gills. Here's some little babies with some other interesting mushrooms beside them, but there's a little baby. Lilac Oysterling, Panus conchatus. And I'll pick this one here to show you. It's the most lovely colouring. And for me, it's probably the closest lookalike to a true oyster because of the size it gets. Now, the gills of an oyster mushroom would be pale, whereas what we've got is the same kind of lilac colouring from the cap is also on the gills below. Now, the gills are quite decurrent on a stem, which is similar to the oyster mushroom, but it's the colour that will differentiate this from the oyster mushroom group. Now, the Lilac Oysterling, come on up, it's not a toxic mushroom. It's classed as inedible in every reference to its edibility that I can find. It's classed as bitter and tough. So if you do make a mistake and pick one of these instead of a lovely grey oyster mushroom, Pleurotus austriatus, then it's not going to hurt you at all. This is not a dangerous mushroom, but it's not a good edible mushroom either. And it's beautiful. So leave it on the trees where you see it to do its mushroomy thing, which at the moment is rotting down this lovely old bit of beech and turning it into lovely compost for these other amazing beech trees around me to grow from. But it's got some help on this particular tree. Now, Attila and I have counted at least 11 different species of fungus fruiting on this tree right now. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll show you some other ones that I find quite interesting. So just quickly, briefly, we've got some hairy curtain crusts. This is kind of Attila's neck of the woods. But if you wait there, on the same tree, we've also got some turkey tails. Did a video on these recently, but little reminder, if you're looking for turkey tails, they are white underneath and the paws are almost invisible. Now, on the tree there's also dead man's fingers, which I did a video on just the other day, and helping rot it down and growing around it, we've also got this really interesting mushroom here. Now, this is a mushroom with a fantastic name. This is the Megacollybia platyphyllus. And I believe this mushroom is possibly responsible for a poisoning story that most foragers will potentially know about. In that we're in some articles I've read, I don't know where, but I referenced them a little bit. There was a group of foragers who were poisoned, went out eating the deer shield mushroom, which is again not a good edible, but it is edible. Apparently the group got sick. But I think the group got sick because of this mushroom, our Megacollybia. Because it looks very similar, and to the untrained eye, you could quite easily mistake this for one of your deer shields. because it grows in exactly the same environment. But we have these kind of radial lines, much more visible on this one over here, Attila, coming out. And the cap splitting a little bit like an Inus ibi, which on the deer shield you generally don't get. But there's one other nice key identifier for this, in that much like our Agricibi precox, our Megacollybia has corded, there's only one there, but corded roots coming off of the base of the stem. So that, if you look closely, should stop you confusing those for deer shields. Though, as I say, deer shields aren't really a mushroom that I like to forage for. I'm not going to go through all the species on this log, but there's one more that I really want to show you. We've seen, there's one here. This is a family of mushrooms, the bonnets, which, let me see if I can get this one up. There we go. Oh, he's broken off anyway. I'll have to use the other one. This is a family that I've never done any videos on before, because there's none in them that you actually want to eat. Some of the bigger ones were considered edible once, but I think I've now read modern science says that there's trace amounts of muscarine in all of the Mycena species. Correct me if you want to in the comments below. They're all very small, apart from the rosy bonnet and the Mycena pura. They're generally all too small to consider eating, and they look beautiful, and they're rotting down all the bits of wood that they're growing out of, so generally leave them all behind. But I believe this one to be quite an interesting one in the group. I think it's the bleeding Mycena. So I'm gonna just grab it, break the stem, and there you see drops of blood coming out of the Burgundydrop Mycena, or the bleeding Mycena. Mycena haematopus. Lovely, interesting mushroom. So, yeah, a very interesting log, but no oyster mushrooms. You can see on my face, though, that hasn't disappointed me at all. I'm pretty sure I'm going to find some porcinis not too far along this path anyway. If you want to find out more, go to wildfooduk.com.